Okay, today I'm with Emmanuel Athans, and we're going to talk about his excellent 6.9 that you can see here. He's going to tell you about it because he knows way more about it than I do.
All right,
So,
yeah, this project started out, must have been about 5 years ago. I'd been looking for 6.9s. I've always liked the 6.9s. The thing that scared me was the self-leveling suspension.
Yeah, the SLS.
Yeah, because anytime you see them for sale, they're pretty much sleeping on the ground. So, had the idea of doing a drivetrain swap, and there was a 6.9 that was at one of the local insurance auctions. It was a 1979. It was a Bellevue car. It had 120,000 miles on it, and there had been a fire somewhere in front of the dash, passenger side of the car, and they let it burn for a while. Then the fire department came, and then they put it out with water instead of with some sort of a chemical. And this was in the middle of winter, and then the car just sat outside under about a foot of snow that year. So I ended up picking it up at the auction and decided, after discussing with a mechanic, me and Gene, that it was going to be better to find a donor car and to do a swap of all the components that we could. Fortunately, there was a car that was a short wheelbase, same color combo, same black on tan, that was down in Tacoma. So I ended up picking that up and driving it right back to Bellevue.
And when you bought this, it was a 450 SEL?
Or yeah, the 450 SEL 6.9. So it was the 6.9s only came in the long wheelbase, and
And that's what we're looking at here is a short wheelbase. And what was the model designation in the short wheelbase?
This was a 450 SE. So
450 SE, that's what I was...
It didn't have the 4 inches of extra legroom in the back seat. It also weighed a little bit less.
And it didn't have the self-leveling suspension on it, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and I did some research on the actual weight difference between the old M100 6.9 liter and the 4.5 that was in there, and the difference in weight, I believe, was 50 kilograms. So when you figure we took out the SLS, there's no SLS stuff in the front, and we took out the air conditioning because that wasn't working. So there's not too much of a weight penalty for this, and just having the simplicity of a standard suspension was very appealing. Plus, it's a short wheelbase car, so it's unique. But
so this 450 SE, you swapped over the entire drivetrain, so that'd be the engine and the transmission. What about the rear differential? Did you do
the rear differential came over too? Yeah, okay. We weren't able to bring over the 6.9's anti-squat geometry rear end. So when you give this thing the beans, then it really just kind of sits down and then takes off. But that's actually kind of fun. It gives it the real muscle car feel.
So you have black on butterscotch, and obviously you have the 16-inch AMG Pentas on here. What shocks and springs are on here? I don't remember. Is this the stock suspension?
The stock suspension from the 450. Yeah, when we had both cars, it was a very lengthy process, and all of the pictures are on FrankenBenz.com if you want to.
FrankenBenz.com. I'll make sure that's in the description there.
My ridiculous projects are there.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's a ridiculous project. It's an exciting project.
It was a lot of fun. It was a good learning experience, and having taken apart so many cars over the years, this one actually went back together. But it really shows you how well built the old 116 chassis were, because we took this thing down to just the frame. I mean, there was no back window, there was no insulation on the inside. It was just a colossal mess. And the further we went down, we were finding water and all sorts of weird fire damage in the original chassis. So what we were able to save from the original car was the trunk lid, the rear diff, the entire drivetrain, the transmission and the engine, and then the dry sump. And fortunately, there was a guy out in Bremerton who moved from California, and he was a real big 6.9 guy. He had a whole bunch of cars, and he had some parts that that I needed, so it was good that he was a local resource. It was, I think, just the dry sump hoses were the big tricky bit, and then we had to have an aluminum motor mount re-welded. But aside from that, the swap wasn't incredibly complicated. I mean, these cars didn't really have a lot of electronics back then. I mean, it's, you know, you've got manual seats and vacuum locks, and the doors don't really work. I wasn't expecting them to. The windows are somewhat intermittent, but you know, it's pretty simple. The stereo has been upgraded. There's, what is it, two 10-inch JLs in the back, and then the MB-Cord components in the front, and then a couple more in the rear deck.
Sounds like a very good combination.
It's, you can almost hear it over the exhaust.
Yeah,
we'll get another shot from underneath the car.
Oh yeah, we're gonna definitely start the car up and let people let people hear it. So
there was
Euro bumpers, right?
No,
Euro bumpers. Okay.
I was on the lookout for some Euro bumpers, and just decided to. Right now, I've decided to put the 6.9s on it. I kind of like the way they look. I had to sort of Frankenstein the best pieces from the two sets of bumpers that I had. The 6.9 had a lot of chrome and didn't have the little bumperettes on the front and back.
Got it.
That was sort of the unique. You can always tell a 6.9 once you know how to recognize the bumpers. But as we're talking about the exhaust, there's no catalytic converters on this. Not like they were working anyway. So it's just straight pipes that go all the way down to the back can. So there's no center resonator and no catalytic converters. Fortunately, since the car was, both cars, the exterior, with the exception of the front of the car that had the fire, a lot of good parts. So we're able to source the better pieces of chrome and bumper bits and all that. Just to take the best of what there was and put them all together.
Well, it definitely turned out good. You can. It's hard to tell. You'd have to have a 6.9 in this car right next to each other to tell the length difference. Because I can't tell.
This is the Euro headlights that we did.
Yeah.
Really happy with these because they put out a lot more light than the original ones.
Yeah, the Euro headlights are always superior to the US spec headlights. These also have the glass lenses on them and the solid one-piece constructions. So now the Euro bumpers don't have the top bumper piece going across the top. Is that correct? What differentiates the US spec W116 bumpers from the European bumpers?
The US spec bumpers, they're basically the diving board bumpers. They stick out about an extra 6 inches over what the Euro spec ones
Okay, so the Euro spec ones are they still have the top piece on them, but they don't come out as far.
Yeah, if I remember correctly. The interior was saved from the 6.9. There's a couple of bits that you can see there was a little bit of crusty goodness that tagged along, but for the most part they were in actually better condition than the 450. So we not only did the drivetrain swap, but did the full interior too. That's been in and out a couple of times with all the other various upgrades that we've done. It's got seat belts from a 124 chassis 300E. That was sort of just a happy coincidence that all the seatbelt components haven't changed at all. The old 76 model 116s had the seatbelt on the inner side mounted off of the transmission tunnel, whereas the 79 had it mounted onto the seat, and so that was actually making some weird squeaking using the tranny mounted one as opposed to the seat mounted one. So since the 6.9 seats had the mounting bracket for the seat mounted seat belt holder, we were able to just put in the 300E's seat belts, and so they're it's really just a looks thing. They looked a lot better than the old ratty 116s from the 450.
Exactly. And these Pentas, These Pentas actually came from a friend of ours off of a W116 that he had.
Yeah, they're the rare 16-inch version of the Pentas.
Yeah, the 16 by 8, right?
So.
Yeah, so these have the SEC offset, which is a perfect offset for this car as well. So they were already painted black in excellent condition. And I believe you put new tires on it, right?
Yep, yeah,
You put new tires.
But it's running.
The black wheels on the black car just really work well. I really like the look of the black wheels with the silver lips on them. Not that I'm biased, not that I'm biased or anything, so... Okay, so here's the engine.
It's that's a standard M100 6.9 liter US spec engine. So these put out about 250 horse in the US, and I think it was something around mid 280s for the Euro spec model, which didn't have the catalytic converters and all that. So once we had it dynoed, it actually came out somewhere in the middle. They got the dyno charts up on the website too. It's really
great.
about the torque.
What's the torque on it?
The torque, if I remember correctly, it was about 310 at the wheels, and if you look at the torque curve, it looks like a diesel truck, because it starts at around 300, it peaks at 310, and then just goes 310 all the way across. So it's.
Wasn't this originally designed to be a truck motor? Is it 6.9 or?
This was a derivative. It's the third derivative. This was what came in the old 600 Pullmans. That was
The limo?
Originally a 6.3 liter, and it didn't have the dry sump. The dry sump was only later for the 6.9, because it arrived for the 600 Pullman. So there was the two different wheelbases of that limousine. Those, of course, go for crazy money nowadays. And then they used that motor, the 6.3, in the 300 SEL 6.3. So that was their first muscle car, where they just took the biggest motor they had and shoved it into a smaller chassis. And then they boarded out to 6.9 for this guy. And this, of course, was a much larger sedan than the 300 SEL. But it definitely would get up and go. You can see here, this is where the pump for the SLS would be, so that's been blocked off. So that entire canister was up here in the driver's side
Interesting.
quadrant of the car. So and there's no, of course, the air conditioning was removed. So anything that had parasitic drag and wasn't necessary was removed. So you can tell on the radiator and on the battery where there was some drippings during the fire, but
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
It's strictly cosmetic. The radiator's been working fine. The battery's still the one that that I got, that came with when it was during the fire from 5 years ago. So it's been running great. You can see some of the flex loom and the wiring for the stereo that we put in also.
And some leftover wiring, very clean. So this was a pretty straightforward swap. Then there was nothing really complicated except for now the motor mount bracket welding, that had to do with not the engine swap. That was something else, right? Where the mount broke and needed to be rewelded.
I don't even remember how that broke.
Oh, okay. It just
just so long.
Just broke. So
yeah, and it's tougher than you might think to.
So was that the actual? Yeah. Was that like a mount frame that broke? Because isn't there a rubber motor mount that goes on top of that?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it was
it's a really small triangular bracket. I don't know if you can even see it from this side, but yeah, everything had to come out on the 450 to get this thing in there. So the radiator is from the 6.9, the fan and all the ancillary stuff. And of course, we brought the battery over too. Excellent. If you look over on the passenger side, you can see where the dry sump was welded in. So that entire panel was cut out of the other car, and then. That's
where exactly?
Right here.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. This thing took 17 quarts of oil.
17 quarts of oil.
Completely empty. Yeah, I think a standard change is something around 15. But, I can start it up whenever you're ready.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everybody wants to hear this bad boy.
Okay. All right. All right, here I go.
So that's it idle.
That's it idle. Yeah,
you want to rev it up?
I'll give it a little bit.
Yeah, rev it up a little bit so we know what a V8 really sounds like.
Normally when I'm driving this thing around, I'm just, going along 1, maybe 2,000 RPM. It just doesn't need too much. That was only 2,500 RPM.
That's it, huh?
It gets pretty loud inside the car with the stereo.
That's a V8. That's how a V8 should sound.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a big fan of the low-end torque as opposed to the high-end horsepower.
Sure.
When I want the power, I want it now. I don't want to wait until the engine cools up. So I figure this car and the other one sitting in the driveway are pretty substantial in size. The 6.9 and the 5.4 on the other one.
Oh yeah, the 5.4. We're going to talk about that one next. So, anything else you wanna say about the car here at this point, or?
I think that's about it for now. Just covered a lot of the.
All right. Well, the link to the FrankenBenz is in the description. So, if you want to see more about the construction of this car, definitely visit the website.